Good morning and welcome to this session. Startups are probably the best example of early adopters of a new technology. No? Anticipation of market niches and user needs are core to the success of many of them. But it is also equally important the way they make use of the technology to address those needs. And 5G is probably one of the upcoming technologies that is just arriving to provide new amazing opportunities, to create new businesses, and to transform radically existing ones. Today is the second day of South Summit, and many startups I've seen in this event make incredibly ingenious use of information and communication technologies. What we want to discuss here today is what can 5G, the next generation of wireless technology, bring to entrepreneurs as an opportunity. But also, what can entrepreneurs bring to 5G as a contribution? As we have today here, two startups from Spain and the Netherlands that are cutting-edge technology providers. So as you could listen in the introduction, we have here Félix González, that is Senior Vice President for Business Development in Fractus Antenna. I must say Fractus is a very unique case in Spain and Southern Europe. They develop a key component in wireless technologies, that is the antenna. So we have with us as well Luis Oliveira, that is CEO and co-founder of Aircision, somehow a similar profile of a startup, but working in a different region. They are based in the Netherlands. They will give us a view of the situation there. They develop a very interesting technology, a high bandwidth optical system to connect, for instance, cell towers in a 5G network. And the rest of panelists we have is Mario Butirica, Business Development Manager for Europe, Middle East, and Asia in Intel Spain. Intel, as you all know, is another technology provider, although they are not anymore a startup. So it's not a startup. They were a startup. Okay, they started small, but they cannot say that today. When Intel is present with components in almost every piece of the 5G network, no, it's an important supplier of components for this industry. Federico Ruíz, finally, but not less important, is the director of Spain 5G National Observatory. He's representing the public administration view on 5G. From his position in Mobile World Capital, Barcelona, can bring us a holistic view of 5G technology, and not only from the offer side, so what technology can offer and bring, but also from the demand and the impact of this technology in society and business. And finally, I'm Juan García, as you say in the introduction, Telefónica, in charge of technology. But let's go to the questions and the discussion in the panel. So as this is a startup event, I would like to start with you, Luis, from Aircision. So innovation is in a razor-edge technology like 5G, it requires very special skills and context. So it's something that you requires a lot of support for innovation. So there are tools to promote innovation, like national and European research and innovation programs. Do you think the environment is adequate in Southern Europe? So what made you go to the Netherlands in the first place? So tell us a bit about it.
Thank you for the introduction, Juan. It's a great question because I'm from a startup in the Netherlands, but I'm actually Portuguese, so I relate a lot with also what's happening here and also the other southern countries. But I have to say the Netherlands has special conditions that attracted me going there, and that attracts and continues to attract a lot of startups to go there. And I think first of all, and in general, it's the mentality of the Dutch. And the culture. The Dutch are super business-oriented people. Everybody is always thinking about business. How can we make this and get something out of a meeting? And they are super direct. So it's not, and this is a super different. It was a cultural shock for me in the beginning as a Portuguese, because in every meeting we need to be as most efficient as we can. It's not about being polite. Dutch are not known for being polite, but it just makes things more efficient. But secondly, and we hear a lot about this word about creating ecosystems. But what does actually that mean? The Dutch ecosystem has a very strong participation by all companies and all players, the government and public institutions involved in it, and all of it they create it based on a long-term vision. And what is this long-term vision? We all know the impact of AI, machine learning, and we are always talking about that. But in order to get these trends and in place, there is a lot of pressure and a lot of things need to happen first. And that's why we are all here talking about 5G, because the 5th generation of telecommunications is all about enabling AI and enabling the revolution in all these other sectors. Just to be quick, is the pressure that all these trends put on the telecommunication sector and in us, it's not only a pressure for the operators and for the vendors, it's a pressure for everyone. So that's what I see in the Netherlands, is that companies in agriculture or in industry or in manufacturing companies, they are all worried and involved in the 5G itself. So they are all working together in order to provide this future in 5 years, 10 years from now. Third and final reason, I'm based in Eindhoven, and that's a very strong region in the Netherlands for deep tech startups. Aircision is building a hardware device, so being part of the regional ecosystem in Eindhoven has also a lot of benefits to me and to the company, as we can easily access the knowledge, the expertise, and the human capital that the region has. So this is in a nutshell.
So fantastic. So is entrepreneurship for business transformation is pushing everything and not just technology, no?
Yeah. A very, very important point is how easy it is for me as a startup, how easy it is for me to have meetings with the directors of big companies and the R&D departments and share on an open way, share our vision, and they share their vision, and we are always trying to get the situation, a win-win situation for both. Mm-hmm. And that makes it easy. So besides, of course, being there for tax reasons, which is a great incentive for startups and entrepreneurs, but also from this side, from the corporates, and from the fact that the corporates understand that they cannot do it alone. They have to work directly with startups. That makes us and makes it great for me to be there.
Well, in fact, I totally agree on that. So you need to create these ecosystems and support startups with technology, with business cases. And for this reason, I would like just to say that Telefónica, some years ago, together with some members of this panel, like Intel, we created something we call a 5tonic, that is a 5G open laboratory based here in Madrid, together with the Madrid region government, India Networks, that is the research institute of this government, to somehow create an open space for innovation for new startups and also companies developing this 5 technology and 5G use cases. No? If you want to know more about this, about 5tonic, and what we are doing there in terms of experiments, there is a stand here, the white stand. You will be able to see everything that we are doing there and a demo that will show it to you. So, well, let's go then to next panelist, Mario. So, Intel, colleagues in this ecosystem, 5tonic. So 5G is more than just a new access technology. You know, it's a catalyzer of network transformation that will enable a lot of new services, no? That were not possible with the previous wireless technologies. However, this is just the beginning, and it's only some first services that are seeing the light at this moment. So what are the services that you think that are more attractive in these first stages of 5G?
Okay, yes. Yeah, so first, thank you for asking me this question. And as much as Intel is a technology company and we work a lot, we invest like 40 million in R&D, and we are like on the supply side of the technology and everything, I totally agree that the key point is the services and the demand and how enterprises and customers can use the 5G and the use cases enabled by 5G technology. So we are seeing a lot of use cases in 3 sectors. One is Industry 4.0, another is transportation, and another is just media and immersive reality and this kind of services. So I will go further into each one, right? So in Industry 4.0, we're seeing a lot of potential use cases around autonomous guided vehicles or autonomous moving robots. So in fact, in Photonic, we have work in one of these cases with autonomous guided vehicles. So this is a use case that we like a lot because it's inside a factory, but it requires mobility. And if you add like vision to these robots, then you have a requirement for a lot of uplink capacity, and then you have to process all these images and all this video. The second key use case we see in Industry 4.0 is the control of real-time processes. So like in industrial processes, let's say in chemical, or you have robots in an assembly line, you need to control a lot of processes in real time. So you need very ultra-low latency, and also you need the reliability to control the process in the right times. So we are also working with leaders in the industry like Bosch, and trying to certify some industrial protocols like time-sensitive networks over 5G. And the final use case we see a lot is quality control using visual analytics. So this is another key use case in industry. So the second vertical I mentioned is transportation. And when I talk about transportation, I talk from ports to connected cars, to connected trucks, to warehouses. And there, of course, we see a lot of autonomous anything, autonomous vehicles, autonomous drones, autonomous trucks. So we see huge potential there in all of these technologies. And the final use case I mentioned is about media. And yes, we are doing a lot of work. Like you have a company that is called Intersports that is doing a lot of work on immersive experiences with virtual reality, augmented reality, what we call volumetric experiences. That is like a hologram kind of experience inside a virtual reality world. So these are like some of the 3 big use cases or verticals that I'm seeing, the key services.
It's interesting because part of them will not require to get to the nationwide 5G coverage, or need just coverage of a certain locations, like the Industry 4.0, and other cases that can be delivered even in the earlier stages of 5G. So I think the potential is very high in the short term. So I think it's important to see that we have things that are available for the short term, but also opportunities in the future with all these.
Yeah, totally agree. When we sometimes talk to big enterprise customers, like our group talks to IKEA, to Shell, sometimes we get this feedback like, oh, but there is no 5G coverage available globally. But what you're saying is totally right. We can start with this special dedicated 5G networks in some areas and still enable many use cases.
You want to say something?
Yeah, if I may contribute also, I think that we see 5G as a potentially needed to be massively deployed technology, so there are time to money that may make the entrepreneur less, I would say, committed to develop stuff. But there is one particular already available technology that are so-called 5G technology, which is in the IoT world, Cat-M and NB-IoT. So those technologies are future-proof, are so-called 5G technology, and they fulfill all the requirements for massive machine-type communication, as stated by 3GPP and so on and so forth. So that technology is already available, is massively deployed or in the process to be massively deployed, and that potentially represents an opportunity where time to money is going to be shorter.
So 5G is then not something of the future, so it's something that, today we can partially enjoy, okay, in many aspects. Okay, Félix, so next question is going to you, no? So we are in Southern Europe, okay, prepared to participate in this technological revolution. So do we have, the skills and the possibility to contribute to this, or we just limit to wait for the technology to come, given our limited tradition of technologists in the south of Europe?
Not at all. I reveal with that idea of wait and see. So I don't think that that's. Let me share with you a little bit the Fractus story. So I think some years ago, back in 1999, a small group of engineers invented what has been the real enabler to completely eliminate the external antenna of any smartphone or handset in the world. So that group of engineers basically invented a fractal technology that allowed to eliminate, you remember, the old and external antennas on the handset, and that was replaced by internal antennas, where a lot of new functionalities and abilities for the handset were allowed through that technology. And virtually all or most of the handset vendors in the world used the Fractus technology in order to produce the handset. So that was some time ago, and already 3 years ago, it was a spin-off of that Fractus antennas, and that spin-off of Fractus antennas has been inventing another revolutionary antenna called virtual antenna, which is miniature, is multi-band, multi-frequency, off-the-shelf, meaning that there is no custom-made antennas based on that technology, omnidirectional and really, really small. Just to illustrate, I was not able to, just to illustrate, that what you see here is a commercial product. This is a fleet management product. And this thin thing is here is the virtual antenna that covers frequency band from 700 to 3.5 megabits, that also covers GPS and is made for worldwide ability to be deployed. So this is an invention that what you've seen here is an embedded antenna. Again, the same thing that with a smartphone. So with this type of invention, there is no need of external antenna anymore. So you can imagine the versatility that this type of thing can enable the ecosystem to participate. So I think this is one thing. If I need to mention 2 lessons learned from this experience, the first one is that despite the place where you are located, you need to think in a big opportunity, meaning that the accessible market for the technology need to be huge. So this is a key lesson learned from the experience. The second and really important thing is the protection of that invention. What that means is this is all about getting some seeding money, but then the difference between a successful startup versus an unsuccessful startup is your ability to capture and attract investor. So an investor is by far more committed if the opportunity is big, so it's what I called before, and second, if your invention is protected. So it is patented, it is filled, and it's robustly protected against any violation or imitation. So those are the 2 big lessons learned. And if I need to say, probably in this Southern Europe, there is a lot of talent in terms of engineering capabilities. There is a lot of talent in terms of creating ideas, but there is not so much talent in all these somehow soft things that are really crucial for the success of a startup. So that's
just in 10 seconds, I completely agree with this, and that's what I see different also in the Netherlands, and that's why I see a lot of Portuguese, Spanish, Italians, Greeks, and so on, people with a lot of skills moving there, and but we need to change that, right?
Okay.
Well, I think that we've demonstrated that you don't need necessarily to move then.
Okay. Fantastic. So there is a lot of contribution on the supply side from the Southern Europe to technology. At least skills, ability, creativity. Now we need somehow to conduct this in the right way. So fantastic. So we have a last question now for Federico, no, from the 5G Observatory. So a good telecommunication infrastructure is having a multiplier effect on the sectors, on other sectors, no, improving competitiveness and especially on the most globalized sectors. No? So what can the public administration expect from 5G? Okay, and what are the sectors that you see will be benefited the most out of this technology?
Okay. Why public authorities are so insistent on promoting 5G?
Yeah.
It's the economics. We are a creature of the Ministry of Economics of Spain, but we are also part of Mobile World Capital And just remember how lucky we are to have this Congress in Barcelona. Two big things. Mobile has replaced PC as a main driver of technology change in places you do not suspect. And remember, we have very good examples here. Antennas for IoT, optical devices for high-speed networks. And this is one of the main things that has been pushing 5G as a geostrategic asset for big economic blocks. We have the network changing, and then we have the Intels of this world, and tons of software that layer on top of that. So there are a huge number of opportunities for growth in doing the networks. And remember, 5G is not over, it has just started. Not only started now commercially, but we will have like 10 years of evolution of 5G. So it's time to get inside. And we have examples here of talent coming from Southern Europe that can promote their products using intellectual property. Then verticals. 5G is about verticals. We've all learned that. But let's go deeper into that. What does it mean? Everything has to change in many verticals. Do we need to have hospitals and transportation systems that are 5G able? Then we need to redesign everything. Why? Network is not anymore the problem. We have the bandwidth, we have the latency, we have the reliability. When 5G will succeed is when we will not notice that 5G is there. But who will be noticed? All the equipment, cameras, actuators, human interface that are not able to cope with the features of 5G. That's a huge opportunity to redesign everything. So if anything has been thinking not specifically in telecom, but in cameras, in actuators, in interfaces, this is your time. So the implications of 5G technology for administrations in terms of economic growth is huge. Remember as well, it's all about reliability. 1 millisecond latency time with 5 or 6 nines reliability and high bandwidth, try it. Whoever is able to succeed in this game will be able to charge huge premium in services. That's the last thing I wanted to mention on the economic implications.
So we have, I have a number of questions, and we have 1 minute and a half. We can take a question if you want from the audience, or then I take the question, so as you wish. So is anyone willing to make a question? Okay, so then I will make the last one, okay, and maybe for you four. So what about the tools that the public administration is putting in place to promote the deployment? So are these tools adequate, are sufficient? In your impression, there something else could be done for promoting the deployment of this infrastructure and development?
Well, I think there are two sides of the question. One is related to how to help the investment in deployed the technology itself. So that's one side of the question. And I think that we've all seen lately that more and more there are this idea of sharing investment between the agents that are investing to make it happen. So everything related to facilitate that from the governmental laws or governmental procedures, I think that will help facilitate. On the other side is what we call feeding the entrepreneurs with, let's say, funds to develop use cases that can really make this triangle fitting perfectly with both technology available and use cases that are monetizing the technology deployed. So I think those two things would be more than welcome.
Okay, so in your opinion, Federico?
Well, this is the reason why I'm here, why I exist, let's say, or the Observatory exists, because administrations are taking this very seriously. It's not enough to remember that 5G exists when they rise to the first page of newspapers, but you have to be backing entrepreneurs, backing operators, backing sellers of technology, and facilitate through regulation, pilot projects, funding, the coming of age of 5G.
Yeah, maybe just two things on my side. Completely agree, Federico. And that relates with my, let's say, first question, because the long-term vision, that's part of government, and that's what government also should have clear, there should be a strategy for the whole economy, and that's how it links. And the second one, it's the ecosystem. So the government is also part of the ecosystem, and it's also part of defining, and it's a big piece of the puzzle, together with the startups, the corporates, in helping us solving the challenges we have right now.
Okay, so we finish here. So thank you very much to the panelists. So
thank you.
Great job, and please a big applause
Thank
to
you.
them. Thank you very much.